Thank you for staying. Let's settle for the news now. And in our first story, Parliament has formally established all select and standing committees of Parliament after more than 2 months since the 9th Parliament was inaugurated. It comes as Finance Minister Dr. Kassila Tuforsen prepares to present the 2025 budget to Parliament on Tuesday. The committees will be tasked to consider the budgetary estimates of the various government agencies before the entire Appropriation Act is approved by the House. So, who leads which committee? Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante has the details.
A full Finance Committee, which will consider a bunch of estimates of the 2025 budget, will now be chaired by Isaac Adongo, with the NPP minority tapping former Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam to be the ranking member. The Subsidiary Legislation Committee, which will be chaired by an opposition MP, will now be led by Patrick Boama, with Medina MP Francis Susu serving as the ranking. Another committee, which is chaired by the opposition, is the Assurances Committee, which will now be chaired by former Defence Minister Dominic Nitiwo. The Public Accounts Committee will also be chaired by an NPP MP, and Abena Osei Asare, a former Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, will step in the shoes of former MPs James Klucha Aveji and Kweku Menu to chair this committee tasked with ensuring the judicious use of public funds. The Budget Committee will also be chaired by another NPP MP, Kuku Kwatin. The Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee will be chaired by returnee NDC MP Shaibu Mahama. The Food and Agri Committee will now be led by Dr. Godfred Seidu Jasso. Alhaji Collins Dauda, currently the longest ever serving MP, will chair the Lands and Natural Resources Committee, with Dr. Market Nawani also leading the Health Committee. His ranking member will be former chairman, Dr. Nana Ayew Afriye. Alfred Oko Vanderpoy will chair the Foreign Affairs Committee. Former Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abujinapo will be the ranking member. James Agalga will chair the Defence and Interior Committee, while Dr. Zaneto Ajaman Rollins will chair the newly created Security and Intelligence Committee. Peter Nochuko Toy will chair the Education Committee, with Emmanuel Kwesi chairing the Energy Committee of Parliament. Beyond considering the budget, these committees will also have oversight responsibility over ministries, departments, and agencies that fall under their supervision. Kweku Asante for Joy News.
Well, staying on that subject, meanwhile, Finance Minister Dr. Kassila Tuforsen has assured traders and businesses across the country that their voices will find expression in the 2025 budget to be presented to Parliament on Tuesday. With inflation still above 20%, import duties rising, and a weak cedi, businesses have been struggling and have been demanding urgent action to improve the economy in order to sustain their businesses. Dr. Tuforsen on Saturday interacted with traders at the Makola market and assured them that there would be solutions in the budget.
Some markets, the business you and I'm a man to but the business in shake ya. Ma Jumane China. Maybe I must say dollar cost. Yes, we are in the dollar of Ghana. I had this Missy Mama, me unu. Namu na mukacha said, me 30 years in me to abada.
Oh, no one was to my seven.
After we pen me to Abaman, me person black. Into your pamucho.
In Ghana, our price are lost because of the dollar. It's never to me stable. Every year's price now the local markets and the consumers interest in the answer. Having problems in the face.
Yeah, my face problem this year means me banter. I make one out this year.
What is the problem?
The problem was the price has increased. It was 1,350, but now it is 1,750. Just 3 weeks.
Just 3 weeks.
Yes.
From 1,350.
Yes, 2,750.
2,750.
So I was returning back. Because
wow.
Now the price I gave it to them over there, and now that it has increased about double, I can't afford it.
Good to see you. But that's it.
Well, you heard there Finance Minister Dr. Kasila forcing an interaction with some traders at the Makola market here in Accra. Getting on to our next story. After a series of Joy News reports, a team of military and forestry rapid response yesterday raided the camps of illegal miners in the Tano Anwea Forest Reserve in the Western region. 10 excavators and 1 bulldozer were seized and transported to a local assembly area. But 3 groups who managed to evade arrest were still operating in the evening. Love FM's Erastus Asaridonko joins us via phone to elaborate on the issue. Erastus, a very good morning to you. If you can hear me, let me hear you back.
Good morning.
Great. What is the latest that you can report on this incident? What are the latest developments? These equipment were seized. Any updates?
Well, so we've been given series of reports and updates of the inclusion of 3 major forests there. The Tamarania Forest there, the Point Tunnel, which is a biodiversity area. We also have the Tamonimre Forest also invaded. Now, for a very long time, even the Tamonimre Forest Reserve, after the invasion of Akonta mining, it has been there, and there has been just pockets of invasion. But this time, it's a full-scale invasion. Now, yesterday, after giving a series of reports, the government acted swiftly. Soldiers from the 2BN in the Western region and the rapid response team of the Forestry Commission raided the camps of some of them in the Western region, in the Tamarania Forest Reserves, precisely. Now, from what I understand, some of the groups were invaded, but 3 managed, I don't know how, to evade the raid of the team. And so as of 7 p.m. yesterday, my scouts on the ground confirmed they are still operating within the forest reserve. Now we have 10 excavators seized from the raid. 1 bulldozer from that raid have also been, and they've been transported from the forest to a nearby local assembly.
Do you have any idea what is going to happen to this equipment, especially as there are conflicting opinions on what to do with them once they are seized?
In fact, I do not have any information on that. What I know is that they were into the program. But normally, when something like this happens, you find out because people who are involved and the people who support these groups are themselves influential people within party politics, the party people in influential places. Sometimes you find them being given back to their owners. This time around, we are monitoring to see what will happen to these excavators and bulldozers. And more importantly, we are also monitoring to see what will happen to the 3 other groups who are currently still mining within the forest enclave. And so today we are monitoring, we will be giving updates on whether the 3 will be raided or they will be left to mine in the forest reserve.
Well, just my final bit, moving away from counting our losses, let's count our gains. Will there be any prosecutions on the back of this, whether the owners of the equipment, when it is traced to them, or those who were engaged in these activities? Do you know?
So that is why I was expecting that those who were operating these machines would have been arrested. They are Chinese collaborators who were not supposed by law to be even in the mining entity, would have been arrested. But nobody has been arrested. It's just excavated. So it's yet to be seen whether owners of these excavators will be tracked and arrested and made to face prosecution or not.
Erastus, we're grateful for those updates. Very timely. That is Erastus Asaridonko, my colleague at Love FM. Let's move on from there. Students at the School of Medical Sciences at the University of Cape Coast are grappling with the impact of the withdrawal of teaching services by their lecturers. Their lecturers withdrew their teaching services about 2 weeks ago over the stance of the university authorities not to promote associate professors from the medical school to full professors, a practice the lecturers say does not align with both national and international best practices. Their lecturers at the school have vowed not to return to the classroom if the university management does not resolve the discrepancies that have left them worse off, as they put it. Abigail and Kroma Essel has more in this report.
Lecturers at the University of Cape Coast School of Medical Sciences have laid down their teaching tools. Professor Emmanuel Kwabna Mesiezi, a lecturer at the school, shares the grievances with Joy News.
We have just done a withdrawal of teaching service, but we are actually at work doing research and community service. University of Cape Coast has had this medical school for, I think, the past 17 years.
All you could have said was,
and since the start of this medical school, it became necessary to engage faculties who are medical practitioners to teach at the clinical levels. And in Ghana, or everywhere in the world, what one needs to teach at the clinical level is the fellowship of a recognized postgraduate medical college. And once you join with that qualification, you are able to rise to the highest academic level you get to. But for UCC, when it got to the point that people decided to apply from associate professor to full professor, then we got the impediment that you need to have a PhD, which nobody has. No medical doctor does PhD in Ghana. So as soon as we tried with application, we got that feedback. Then we decided to embark on an action. That was about over a year ago.
While highlighting a potential meeting with the university board, Professor Mesiezi stresses that until the university rescinds its decision, teaching will not resume at the UCC School of Medical Sciences.
There's no way you can get anybody with PhD to come and teach somebody how to diagnose diseases. You have to be a practitioner. You have to have the fellowship. And that is what is done in all the university. University of Ghana promotes physicians with fellowship to full professor. KNUST does the same. University of Health and Allied Sciences at O, they also promote people to full professor. So with UDS in Tamale. So it's only the University of Cape Coast that is an outlier. And we don't understand. We think that we have been quiet because we love to teach and we love to impart the knowledge that we have to our students. And they are taking us for granted. I think the Vice Chancellor, Registrar, and I think the Human Resource Director met us. And at the meeting, we told them that until they rescind their decision, we're not going to call out a strike. Because we realized that there was no commitment to solve this problem.
Some medical students are worried about the impacts of the strike action on the student population.
I would say it's been quite hectic on this entire student populace because we have our clinical year students going to lectures and we see the absence of the various lectures that are supposed to take us through some of our models that we are supposed to do. And aside that, this year, the maiden edition of the Medical and Dental Council licensure exam is supposed to be coming on in October, and our level 600s, that's the final year students, are supposed to be preparing themselves towards this exam. And the clinical year students, the clinical year lectures are not available for that. Yes, so it's quite detrimental, and it's something that we foresee it can have an impact in our studies.
As the level 300 students, initially we thought it wouldn't affect us, but here's the case: we are in our paraclinical studies, meaning that we have lecturers from the clinical years teaching us, so clinician lecturers. And because of this, for the past week, we haven't had any classes. Most of my classmates don't know what to do with their time. We are more of lost at this point because we are holding whether to go to class or just to wait around for something to be done. I'm hopeful that the situation will be resolved as soon as possible, because if not, it will extend our academic calendar. And currently, UCC Medical School, we don't have a lot of time. Our breaks are quite short as it stands. So if our calendar is moved forward, that means we might end up with no breaks at all, and that would be detrimental for all of us. So I hope that something is done as soon as possible.
From the University of Cape Coast, Abigail Esel Nkrumah reports for Joy News.
Well, staying on that beat, Joy News understands the GTEC is scheduled to meet the university's management and the leaders of the medical school lecturers to fashion out a resolution on the matter. Well, let's stay on education. Vice-Chancellor of the Simon Diadong Dombo University of Business and Integrated Development Studies, Professor Emmanuel Kunchene Derbile, is urging students of the university to bear with them as they make attempts at fixing the infrastructural challenges faced by the university. The university has a plethora of abundant and uncompleted infrastructural projects dotted around its campuses, which impede conducive learning at the university. Speaking at the 5th matriculation of the university in Wa, Professor Derbile noted that while they were implementing the accelerated Get Fund Completion Initiative to resume construction work at some stalled projects, he appealed to the Education Minister, Haruna Idrisu, to come to their aid for speedy completion of the projects. Joy News' Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam, who was at the ceremony, reports that the 68-year-old foundation dean of the WA campus of the University for Development Studies was among the matriculants for the law program, and he took an oath alongside his 24-year-old daughter.
The Simon Diadong Dombo University of Business and Integrated Development Studies, SDDU-BITS, was established by Act 1001-2019 as a public university with the mandate to become an international acclaimed applied research and practical-oriented educational institution dedicated to the development of business and integrated development studies. The matriculation therefore held is the 5th since it metamorphosed from the Wa campus of the University for Development Studies UDS to its current autonomous status. Vice Chancellor of SDDU-BITS, Professor Emmanuel Derbile, reminded the matriculants that they were not only admitted into the gem of the Upper West region, but a university with a global outlook. Professor Derbile, however, conceded that as a new university, it is not without challenges as it faces serious infrastructural deficits. He, however, pointed out that there is a glimmer of hope through the implementation of the accelerated Get Fund Infrastructure Completion Initiative, which was approved by the Governing Council of the
Through this program, we aim at mobilizing funds and working with stakeholders to accelerate the completion of Get Fund projects on campus and to initiate other IGF-funded infrastructure projects that are critical for enhancing teaching and learning.
Key among the projects is the Otto Modern Library Complex, which was started some 15 years ago. Professor Derbile appealed to the government through the Education Minister, Haruna Idrisu, to help fix the challenges.
I think it's about 15 years old, and quite a number of big contractors, let's say so to speak, have handled this project. But I think we only began to see a lot of progress when the contract was awarded to a local, contractor. And so far, this contractor, Tumsung, has demonstrated so much commitment and invested. I still recall last year, his investment was up to the tune of about 20 million Ghana cedis, and a lot of the certificates are outstanding. We are appealing to the Minister of Education, and he's shown commitment so far to come to our aid, at least to complete the existing infrastructure that we have on campus, the Get Fund projects. I think that would enhance our capacity to even admit a lot more students.
A total of 4,332 students were inducted into various programs of the university for the 2024-2025 academic year. 62% of the matriculants were males, while 38% were females for both undergraduate and graduate programs. In order to boost the enrollment of females into its programs, the university will launch a Vice Chancellor Scholarship for needy but brilliant students with special focus on females.
Among the males of matriculants as the SDDU-BITS matriculation, was a former Council of State member, a foundation dean of the University for Development Studies, Wakam Professor Dana Dibaga.
The 68-year-old now Professor Baga took the matriculation oath along with his 24-year-old daughter.
I was excited to see her just standing by me, you see, and honestly, if I tell you, that's even one of the reasons why I did it. You know, I was trying to encourage her to do law because she did, what do we call it, real estate management. And I said that, well, you can do law and add it to your real estate, but she was thinking that now she wouldn't do it. I said, okay, if you won't do it, I'll go and do it. I'll go and do it. So I even bought my phone before she also. Oh, Dad, if you will do it, I will also do it.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
And joining the WA chorus there. But now, the Takoradi Technical University has officially matriculated 8,933 students for the 2024-2025 academic year. Speaking at the 25th matriculation ceremony, Vice-Chancellor Reverend Professor John Frankishen urged the new students to embrace academic excellence, integrity and responsibility as they begin their journey at the TTU.
Delivering his speech at the ceremony, Reverend Professor Isen congratulated the students on their admission, emphasizing TTU's commitment to academic excellence, personal development and technical education. TTU received 10,717 applicants for the academic year, out of which 8,933 students enrolled. Notably, 60% of the admitted students are pursuing TVET-related programs, reflecting the university's technical education focus.
Takoradi Technical University received a total 10,717 applications for this academic year. Out of this number, 8,933 students have successfully enrolled in various programs. The breakdown comprises 5,982 males, consisting of 67% and 2,946 consisting 33%. 60% of the admission were into TVET-related programs. This demonstrated to you strong commitment for fulfilling this mandate. I have high hopes for your success. We all want to see you excel. TTU is committed to providing a conducive environment for academic excellence and global exposure. I encourage you to work hard, develop critical thinking skills, and focus on opportunities, personal growth, and development to unlock your full potential.
Reverend Professor Ishan urged the students to take advantage of the university's resources, including e-library, career development office, and innovation hub, while warning against vices such as examination malpractice, drug abuse, and occultism.
As you begin this journey, always remember the core values of Takoradi Technical University: commitment, integrity, teamwork, excellence, and diversity. Upholding these values will not only shape your character, but also contribute to the positive reputation of the university. Treat everyone in this community with respect and appreciate the diversity that makes us strong. Ladies and gentlemen, like any civil society, TTU has structured communication channels, and we expect you to follow them. I see vibrant and enthusiastic youths, young people here this morning. I urge you to balance your studies with positive social activities. Be mindful of who you associate with and avoid vices such as drug abuse, alcoholism, promiscuity, and occultism, which will lead to your expulsion from the university. Also, avoid swimming at the beach for your safety. Some of you are seeing the sea for the first time. I don't want you to go near, don't go experiment. You don't want any casualty. Stay safe. Take personal responsibility. Avoid examination or practices
The Vice Chancellor also reminded students to maintain a balance between academic and social life while staying security conscious. For Joy News in Athalia Kwanza, Western Region.
Now, at the closing ceremony of a 3-year research project by the National Institute for Health Research, Dr. Roberta Lamte, co-principal investigator of the CREATE team, stressed the need for structured self-management education in tackling non-communicable diseases. She highlighted that managing conditions like hypertension, diabetes, and stroke required community-wide efforts beyond hospital care, urging individuals to take charge of their health through a proper diet, medication adherence, and exercise.
We did this from the UK, Mozambique, Kenya, and Ghana. We've been meeting here for the past 3 days, and today is the last day to reflect on how the project went. So the main, apart from the structured education component of CREATE, we also collaborated with other partners who we think are important when it comes to delivery of non-communicable disease education. A major partner was the church and worked very closely with Wesley Methodist Church. We also worked with the Kolibu Mosque. We also worked with community Kifit clubs. Oh, we have a lot of key findings, but I think for us, the major one is that structured self-management education can actually change people's behavior. Because as part of that research, we didn't give people medication, we didn't give people food, we just gave them education so that they can understand food and the impact it has on their own health and other things that affect non-communicable diseases such as mood, mental health, a few other things. The importance of taking medications and why they are important. So one thing we learned that given that structured self-management was able to change their behaviors because we took their blood parameters at baseline, they came back again, we took it again at 3 months, and they came back again and we took it at 6 months. We are yet to conclude with the analysis. Not only did we take quantitative data, so numbers, we also interviewed them and said, what was your experience, what were the challenges? And all in all, we know that the structured self-management education worked. I mean, some people shed their weight, blood pressures were better controlled, people felt more in control, they appreciated the impacts of their mood on their health. So we believe that this is something we should take forward and test in a randomized control trial with a control arm. So one arm gets the intervention, so that you can say that it is because of this. And we think that if we're able to do that and we show that it works not only in Ghana but across our other countries, we should be able to influence policy.
Well, we segue right into our business update up next. Let's head into our first story as economist Professor Patrick Esuming has joined calls for expenditure and tax rationalization in the 2025 budget. According to him, beyond the scrapping of taxes and levies like the betting tax, COVID-19 tax, and others, there is still room for more innovative ways of generating revenue. His concern is coming at a time when Cabinet has given its approval to the 2025 budget that will be presented by Finance Minister Dr. Cassio Attoforson to Parliament tomorrow, March the 11th. Speaking to Joy Business, Professor Esuming stated that government had to enhance enforcement and compliance.
Well, I think the government has made it clear in its campaign that it's going to remove some taxes. I am extremely supportive of removing the e-levy. I don't know whether the government will go ahead and remove the COVID-19 levy and then also the betting tax. But I still feel that there's room to remove those taxes and still find ways to plug the hole. So there's been a lot of talk about tax rationalization of the tax system. I suspect that will include removing some of the VAT exemptions and then also making it more uniform. At the moment, there's too much discrepancy, different segments applying different rates, and of course, so I think all that rationalization, if it simplifies the system, and remove a lot of the exemptions. I think that will help. The finance minister during the vetting made a clear point that he is not very supportive of the exemptions. So I think that is good. And then there's still room, even within VAT. We are not even collecting 60% of our potential. So if you're able to improve the enforcement and the collection, that is enough to bring us more than enough savings to make up for any expenditure, any revenue losses from those taxes.
Our policy lead, Conventional Energy at ASEP, Kojo Yauche, is upbeat the construction of a second gas processing plant will augment the country's energy security while minimizing shortfalls in the energy sector. Although he welcomed the move, he was concerned about funding for the facility. Reacting to the development, Mr. Yauche said the move was long overdue.
I think the second train of the gas processing plant is long overdue. This was supposed to come, I think, some 2 or 3 years after the first train was brought in 2015. And if you look at how much gas we've been flaring over the period, in 2023 alone, the gas we flared, if we were supposed to commercialize it and use it for power production, that would have earned us some $287 million. So having a processing plant that is able to commercialize this gas instead of flaring it, which goes against our zero flaring policy.
And that's how we cap off the business update and the summation of the AM news in general. But do stay with us. Our guests will join us shortly for the news review. We'll be right back.